Hello. So this video is on perfection and imperfection as you're navigating this path. And one of the things we start to notice as we become aware of more subtle influences on ourselves is that the environment can actually affect us quite substantially in very subtle ways. So as we become more mindful and aware of our own susceptibility, we then start to recognize the need for taking a little bit of responsibility in terms of what we put out into the world. If other things can affect us to such a degree at such subtle levels, that means we have the capacity to affect the world and others in the world to the same capacity and at the same subtle levels. So with this comes some degree of responsibility. How do you want to affect the world? How do you want to affect other people? And we start exploring this. And this is part of cultivating yourself and self-development. And as you are growing your capacity to work with energetic skills, this becomes more and more important. To borrow from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And the more powerful you become, the more easily the aspects of our personality, whether it's conscious or subconscious aspects of our personality, the more easily those start to permeate and affect those around us. So this requires some degree of work on the black and white mirror and on actually, working on perfecting ourselves as human beings. Now, that said, this is very interesting and part of the school of life, so to speak. I was having a conversation with a very good friend of mine over in Australia, and there was a bunch of stuff going on during that. Ow, motherfucker! There's all these little ouchie McOuchies, these balls of pain on the ground that slide over the sides of my flip-flops and enter my feet, my unwilling feet. Anyway, we're having a conversation, and afterwards, the next day, he sent me a note mentioning how helpful the chat had been to him. And this was in the spirit of a private chat, so the details will remain private. But what was mentioned is that it wasn't the perfections, say, in me that created the positive nature of the change in him. It was actually observing when one topic came up, a topic that pisses me off and a fair bit of rage pops up. It was, from his estimation, the immediacy of the release that was present in conjunction with that rage coming up. So it's not necessarily in the display of our perfections that we can navigate and express change in positive ways in the world around us, but in the minutiae of how we handle and work with our imperfections that can be a great source of shift and change as well. So anyway, that's a fun thing to contemplate more. Working with our imperfections and the open display of those imperfections without clinging and attachment and rationale of why they're okay and why you're entitled to these imperfections. All that goes aside, and there's the presence of the imperfections, and there's the moment-by-moment nature of how we're handling them. And then there's all the offshoots of how that can inspire shift and change in other people. So anyway, I thought that was a really, really interesting bit of feedback, and I was pondering it a little bit, and this is what came out. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Bye.